Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Comic Book Therapy. I'm your host, Eric JB. We're going to be talking a lot about some good stuff this week. We're going to be talking about Amazon Prime Therapy, the shows Invincible, and of course, The Boys. But I'm going to have to bring in my co-hosts, my friends, my compadres, Nate A and George L. We gonna get in tonight. How you guys doing? First of all,
we got a lot to talk about today.
So,
Eternals, finally.
There we go. What says that? I don't even need to know how he's doing. He's doing good. He's in tip-top shape. He's a top-tier shape. How about you, George?
Oh man, think, Eric. Think. I think that's a perfect way to start today's episode.
Awesome. So, like always, anybody who's listening, spoiler alert, if you haven't been checking out The Boys or Invincible, watch the shows before you come into this episode, okay? Because we're going to get in. And the other thing is hit that subscribe button. All right. First, before we get into Amazon Prime shows, the Eternals trailer just dropped. It's a teaser trailer. What you guys think? You guys ready for it?
Am I ready?
Why are you wearing the mask?
Am I ready for it?
He's not even in the movie.
Hold on. Well, actually, technically, he was in the trailer, but we're gonna get to that in a second. But first off, before we even go anywhere, okay? Did y'all see Kit Harington and Richard Madden? I mean, like, come on, I'm gonna have to do a whole Stephen A. situation here. I mean, it was absolutely beautiful watching Kit Harington in there for the first time. It was like I was watching Game of Thrones all over again. But it's like watching Game of Thrones. Did you see Richard Madden? He was so handsome as Icarus. You see that?
That's your takeaway?
Richard Madden was born to play Icarus, George. I want you to try to convince me otherwise. Their costumes were... Did you see how they were in front of the Ishtar Gate in Babylon? They're all posted up, ready to fight some deviants. That trailer was beyond amazing. I cannot wait. I've been dying to see this movie for so long. I'm just ready. I'm ready. I don't care what, but you see, even my green screen came out. Like I'm so ready. You understand, guys? I'm geared. I'm hyped. I'm ready to see it. I know everybody's all just like, I don't know what the Eternals are. I don't care what you know. Okay, the Eternals are lit. It is time.
Listen, Nate. Actually, I want you to describe what the Eternals are for those who don't know.
Yes, for those who aren't aware, let's leave my microphone over here to the side. For those who aren't aware who the Eternals are, basically, in the history of Marvel Comics, obviously in the MCU, you have seen these beings known as the Celestials. Well, the Celestials in Marvel Comics were known to create three types of beings. The first type of being was human. Second, the Deviants. And third, the Eternals. Basically, the whole situation with the Eternals is that the Eternals live in the outer realm of the Marvel Universe. They're created by the Celestials to help protect and oversee the universe. And the Deviants are basically their exact opposites. They're the ugly, evil, disgusting version of the Immortals and of the Eternals, and pretty much what's going on is there's a battle between the Eternals and the Deviants, and get it right here. Everybody needs to know this. In the comics, Thanos, everybody's favorite Marvel villain, is a Deviant. So that's basically what I think the synopsis of the movie is going to be about. You know, they say it for thousands of years. We've just watched and whatever, so I expect them to fight Deviants. So those are the Eternals.
But wasn't Thanos on Titan? I thought he was a Titanian.
Titanian. Yeah, he was born on Titan and whatnot, but they didn't tell you where Thanos came from yet. So I guarantee you, they're gonna explain his backstory, because in the comics he's a deviant.
Boom. I'm excited for it, but what I've been hearing on the Twitterverse is that people are upset at the Eternals for the fact that in the trailer it says we have stayed out of human business until now, and everybody said, "Bruh, what do you mean until now?" So Thanos, being a deviant himself, because they said, like you said, Nate, he's a deviant, or what I said in my research, he's an Eternal with deviant gene or deviant tendency. If they fight deviants, where in the world were the Eternals when Thanos showed up? Because if they fight deviants, Thanos is one. So if he's one of these people that you have to stop because they destroy worlds, that's exactly what Thanos was doing. Where were you? Why did you show up late?
Show up late? They didn't show up at all. That's the thing. Like, everybody had already left. The parents had already cleaned up the house. Everything was tidied up. The kids are asleep. Like, they never showed up at all. They didn't even send a notice saying they weren't going to come. Here's the thing. Everyone talks about the end of the trailer where they give the line, "Oh, now that Iron Man and Captain America are gone, maybe I should go, lead the Avengers," right? Based on what I saw in the trailer, and we know we know how Marvel is. First off, I had to remind myself that this was a teaser trailer and not the official trailer where we get more story details, right? If you notice, basically the trailer just flashes through time. Clearly, they're going to go all the way to the early days of society here in the MCU. You saw some references to Mesopotamia, ancient civilizations. You see some of the Eternals introducing themselves to the Earthlings, right? And, helping them with farmland and all these other things, which I know some people are going to be like, "Oh, that's boring. Why are they putting this in a Marvel movie?" First off, this is Marvel we're talking about, all right? They're going to make it worth it. You just got to be patient because they got to explain who these people are. The only reference we really got to them was in the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie when they were talking about the Infinity Stones, right? And you notice there's a part of the trailer where I forget what's the name of that female character. She's like standing, and all of a sudden it goes from old times, and then it looks like she's in Paris, right? She was making an illusion of something from her memories. My thing is, and based on what I've read, the main reason, and we don't know yet, but the main thing is that the Eternals, something happened that most of them lost their memories. They had their powers, but they didn't have their memories. So when all this crazy stuff was happening with Thanos and everything on Earth, right, they were just normal members of society. And for all we know, some of them probably got blimped when Thanos snapped his fingers, and they returned after the blimp at the end of Endgame when, Tony and everything happens and the Avengers fix everything. So now we know that if this movie's taking place in different parts of time, and it's mainly going to be taking place after Endgame, right? They're going to be, trying to figure out, okay, now they're slowly regaining their memories back, and now they have to decide, okay, what's our role going to be in society going forward? Can we afford to continue staying in the shadows? Because one thing we know that Marvel is building, I think Phase 4 is basically all about, building the cosmic universe. But the focus is no longer just on Earth, right? They're building the Space Avengers. They're expanding things with the Guardians of the Galaxy. Everything's spread out that when we get Avengers 5, that's the key here. When we get Avengers 5, the Eternals are going to
Galactus.
Exactly. Yes. You took the words right out of my mouth. When we get Avengers 5 with Galactus and we see the Avengers, mix it up with the X-Men, because that is coming, with the Fantastic Four, with the Eternals, right? It's all going to make sense. And then it's just going to be this gigantic thing that we, on a scale, you thought Endgame was crazy. That's my main thing. So I think my theory is they lost their memory, and that's the main reason why they didn't get involved, because they had no idea of what was really going on, because they didn't have memories of their history, of their powers. But that's
my goodness. That's why I always have you on, George, with the hot takes. You giving us the great answer to the question, where were the Eternals? And here's my thing. I don't have a theory, But my point is this: MCU has always been good with this. Whenever there's a question that pops up where we all are saying this doesn't make sense, guess who's laughing? Kevin Feige and the team. They're like, that's exactly what we want you to think. Yes, keep getting upset, keep getting mad at the Eternals, because guaranteed when this movie comes out, we're going to explain where they were, we're going to explain why they weren't in the battle, and it's going to make perfect sense. I have yet to see a Marvel movie where they give such a huge plot hole where I'm upset. So I'm excited. I'm down with it. The other thing I have to acknowledge about the Eternals is their diversity. I'm so excited about that. You know, we have Asians that are in the Eternals. You know, we have, I believe, Selma Hayek. So we have Hispanics, Latinas, Latinos in there. Angelina Jolie, who is, you know, white, but she has like that Greek kind of look, you know, the kind of like the Gal Gadot kind of look, you know, like she could be from the Middle East, but she could be from Europe, that kind of look. So I'm excited about that, and the fact that it's also going to explain how they gave influence to mankind. Because I think they're also, if you look at the teaser trailer, like they kind of show that they didn't want to interfere, but they also influenced mankind. They allowed them to thrive, as the trailer says. So that means they probably gave a little bit of technology, which allowed them to improve their status, and also probably some culture. And it'll be cool to see how like they instilled culture, you know, here and there and things like that. But on Nate's point, in the fact that they are the humans, the Eternals, and the Deviants, one thing that I also found out, which is really, really interesting about the Marvel Universe, and they haven't really talked about it. Maybe the MCU will talk about it, but in the Marvel Universe, in the comics, the experimentation that led to the Deviants, the Eternals, and human beings by the Celestials also allowed for mutations in human DNA that leads to all these superheroes. Which
X gene
for the mutants, but also the capability to become superpowered in other human beings, like Bruce Banner. How come Bruce Banner never died after being bombarded with lethal doses of gamma radiation? People always ask that. Well, they explained it. Because of the experimentation, the human genes have some kind of latent possibility that, you know, even though it's a type of poison, it can lead to superpowers. Bruce Banner gets bombarded with gamma radiation, becomes the Hulk. Peter Parker gets bitten by a radioactive spider, which should have made him just throw up and be extremely sick and have radiation sickness and cancer. Instead, he gets to be Spider-Man. All right, so that's a great explanation. And it also leads to the X gene. And I think if they mention that, if the Eternals mention that, we are on the road to what we've been waiting for, which is mutants in the MCU.
Well, it would be the perfect way to tie in back to WandaVision when they explained that Wanda already had her powers.
Yep.
She would have the same abilities as everybody else. And you know what? I think Kevin Feige knows that us fans are starting to figure this out. But at the same time, we could all also be wrong, because I don't want to bring up Mephisto again, but like, you never know.
We don't want to be Ralph Bonard.
Yes, exactly. We do not want to be Ralph Bonard again. I can't.
Well, they're gonna have to address it at some point. Like, you know, WandaVision, they didn't do it. They teased it, but they didn't do it. There was absolutely nothing in the Falcon and Winter Soldier. You know, all right. Now we have Loki coming, so maybe potentially, right? But I still think Kevin Feige's heavily lying to us based off the Loki trailers, right? And then we have everything else coming, you know, this summer and fall. But eventually, if you look at the MCU lineup, they're going to eventually have to start putting things into place. And this would be the perfect time with the Eternals. You know, perfect time. We could be wrong for all we know. You know, for all we know, they could be saving it for Spider-Man. We don't know. But just know that Kevin Feige, he has a plan. And when we look back at this 5 years from now, we're gonna be like, yeah, remember when Kevin Feige fooled us in WandaVision? Wasn't it worth it when we got the reveal in X, Y, and Z? So I'm just gonna be patient,
X, Y,
sit back
and Z.
with my popcorn and enjoy.
That's right. That's right.
I don't trust Feige. I don't. I just can't. Feige, I don't trust you. You ruined my you play with my feelings too much. You understand?
Right? That's your fault.
You play he's played with my feelings too much.
That's
I don't know.
fault.
I don't know who to believe anymore. I don't know who to trust. What can I do?
Listen. He's gonna continue breaking your heart, but guess what? You're gonna keep coming back. You're gonna keep coming back. You addicted to that kid, and he knows it. And that's his power. That's his superpower. He got us addicted, and he knows it. Okay,
bro. Being an MCU fan is a lot like being in a toxic relationship. Like, no matter how badly Feige treats me, I always come back.
That's right.
My God.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
That's true. It's absolutely 100% true. And that's why we do this. That's why we talk about it on this show. So we definitely going to be watching the movie. One last point before we move on to Amazon Prime. We got Salma Hayek now in there. We got Angelina Jolie. So Emily Blunt, okay, from last week's episode. Emily Blunt, you have no excuse. Because it looks like they're going to get Leonardo DiCaprio too. They're going to get Brad Pitt.
Yo.
They're going to get your husband. Be Sue Storm. Okay? I know you're watching. Emily. Okay? You're doing great stuff. We love your work. Please, Sue Storm, sign the contract. Let's get this going. All right.
And you're going to get paid if you guys need to know bro, just watch last episode. I already went on a rant about this before. Oh,
that's right.
Goodness.
Listen,
being in Marvel
all the
movies
big
is
names.
Standard now. That's the new standard, right? Being in Marvel action movies are the new standard for Hollywood actors. If you don't do at least one, it doesn't matter if it's a Disney Plus show or a movie. It has to be on your bucket list. Everyone's doing it now. It's Disney. It's freaking Marvel. They've taken over the entire industry. So what are you losing at the end of the day? Your legacy is forever cemented the second you appear on screen.
Boom. All right.
Don't try to go to DC now.
All right. You heard us, okay? Emily, Mrs. Blunt, okay? Let's sign the dotted line. Be Sue Storm, okay? Give us the Fantastic Four we need. Give us the Fantastic Four we deserve, okay? No offense to Miles Teller and Kate Mara. But yeah, you guys were in a train wreck. All right. Michael B. Jordan as well. Sorry, you guys were in a train wreck. So let's get it right with John Krasinski and Emily Blunt. All right. And we're not even going to talk about Ian Gruffudd and Jessica Alba. Okay. You guys know what you did. Okay. You guys know what you did. It was terrible. Never again.
At least Chris. I can't blame Chris Evans because he was still a baby with Marvel movies. Okay.
He redeemed himself with Captain America, so he has been forgiven. All right. So, guys, we are here to talk tonight about a show that blew us away in Invincible. I'm going to start off by saying, once again, spoiler alert, but the first episode of this show started out so typical of superhero stories. Action sequence, a Justice League type team coming together, fighting crime. They defeat the enemy, and you start to get introduced to the superheroes. And then you get introduced to a character by the name of Mark Grayson, who is the son of one of these powerful beings by the name of Omni-Man. And you're watching this and saying, man, this is a pretty cool show. You're getting introduced to these superheroes, and you're thinking, wow, could be interesting. All right, just like Justice League, just like a DC movie or a DC animated movie or Marvel. This is pretty cool. Nice. Enjoyable. Nothing too outrageous. And then,
bam!
The last just like Nate said that, Bam, the last 5 minutes blew you away in the fact that you find out that Omni-Man had tricked all these Justice League type heroes to come to the headquarters and proceeds to murder them viciously, horrifically,
I love it.
gruesomely. I have never seen a superhero kill people so badly. First, there was the like speedster character. He squishes his head.
Red Rush. Yep. He
Red Rush. He squishes
grabs
his
him
head.
and just.
And the green ghost lady, she goes, "Oh God," and that's when you knew. That's when you knew it was on. And then throughout the entire series, you're just asking, what is up with Omni-Man? Why did he kill all these heroes? Because in the first episode, you find out that Mark actually does exhibit the powers of a Viltrumite, the race that his father is from. And next thing you know, the next scene of Omni-Man, we see him killing all these heroes. So where you start asking yourself, what's going on? Are these heroes actually villains? And he did it to protect his son. What's up? What's the secret here? Because he doesn't tell anyone. And the people throughout the series are trying to figure out who killed all these heroes. They figure out only one person could do it. Was Omni-Man. And they figure it out. It wasn't hard. Even his wife pretty much figures it out.
Yeah.
It was Omni-Man. Then they start asking why. Why was it him? And that's the series we were introduced, along with Mark Grayson figuring out how to be a hero. You know, like all the other typical stories we have with, you know, Peter Parker and Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne and all that stuff, which is great. Good, great, entertaining television. But the way that first episode ended, it changed the whole series for me. And I realized, oh, we're in a deconstruction. So what do you guys got to say about that?
Woo! 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 That first episode, man. Woo! I remember, all right, so it was like a Thursday night. You know, me and Nate and Eli were talking, a couple of our friends. And then Nate was on the finale. I was like, yo, Nate, is this worth it? And he was like, oh, yeah, it's worth it. I absolutely love the violence. All right? Not because I'm a violent person. I just think these are superhero characters, people. They're ultra powerful. They're walking amongst our society, not like literally, but in the show, like they have the ability to kill people like that. They have the ability to do harm like that. So the fact that they show you right away, because you go into this, right? The first couple minutes you see these characters, you're like, oh, this reminds me a lot of Justice League or the Avengers, right? You know, but then you get that the end of that first episode with Omni-Man just absolutely whooping them, right? Blood everywhere, and you see himself, you know, how tired and fatigued he is, how he barely survived. And I'm just like, yes, why can't I see this with why can't they do this with Superman, man? Like that was my first thing, you know, and then.
I have
Going to the show, it's exactly, and then it's like, dang, like why is he like this? Why is he doing this? And you go through every single episode, and you know like how every time at the beginning of the episode, right when like one character is about to say Invincible, and then you get the title card, and then it gets bloodier and bloodier and bloodier with every single episode. I'm just like, this is what we need. It's different. And here's the thing: what made this great is I had no knowledge of these characters. No, I had no idea. I thought this was just made out of thin air, right? It's not until I finished the series that I went back and I was like, oh my gosh. And you know, I think we'll talk about the ending here in a sec. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but the way they set up for where they can take this, you like, dang, they did just this in the first 8 episodes, just in season 1, and then knowing where this could go, where this could lead into the future, it's just like it gets you hype, it ropes you in, and the thing about it is, it does a good job of keeping things simple. It's not a super complex story if you really look at it. You know, you have Omni-Man, this ultra super powerful being, you know, who's on Earth, who's known as a hero, and then eventually he has this secret mission in the back of his head, and it all revolves around his son. The reason why he doesn't carry out his mission sooner is because he has to wait for him to develop get his powers. And the Guardians of the Globe, these other people involved, but it does a good job of not confusing you and not making things too difficult to understand. And that's what I really appreciate. Sometimes with these other superhero shows and movies, they get so complex and just like, to pause, to think about what's going on. I never not once watching this did I have to pause and really think about it. The only time I ever stopped, I was just like, I just thought, dang, how good this is. That was the only time I would actually pause. I'm just like, dang, I like, oh my gosh, Omni-Man did that to him. I'm just like, woo. Or maybe me just going back to rewatch the scene just because I wanted to rewatch it. So I really appreciate how simple they made it to enjoy, and it just hyped me up for the future of the series. I feel like there's so many elements and themes that they can take from Invincible and incorporate in Marvel animated shows, in DC animated shows, and I really enjoyed it as a viewer, not knowing what was going on.
I will say this. So to answer your point, George, you asked why don't they do this with like Superman. Firstly, they have done these kinds of storylines where all the heroes become villains. It's already been done. It's already been done in both Marvel and DC. The reason why I want to answer that question directly is because you saw what happened the last time they had Superman kill somebody in live action and the whole world went blank and everybody freaked out. It's because Superman is supposed to be the status quo. Omni-Man, since he isn't the status quo, Robert Kirkman was able to do whatever he wanted with his character. So I think what makes Invincible so amazing is the fact that Eric is right. It's deconstruction. This is what the show was meant to do. It's deconstructing the entire superhero genre. Because even down to the whole notion of superheroes save everybody, that doesn't happen in this show. We've all seen the show. We all know that. I'm pretty sure this superhero show. More people have died than any other form of superhero media I've seen. More people have died. I think it's about as bad as Man of Steel in the Battle of Metropolis. Like, we're talking thousands upon thousands of people are dying in this show. And the only difference between like Man of Steel and a show like this is that they show you and it gets bad, like bad. So I think one thing that I loved about the show was the fact that it was very realistic. Like, it's very grounded. It's realistic. It shows you what would happen if somebody like Superman came to our world with malicious intent and how screwed we would be. Because you saw what Omni-Man did to the entire Guardians of the Globe. Eviscerated them, and it took him like 6 minutes of the ending of the episode, 6 minutes to take them all out. And that's what it's all about. And you have to understand that there's so many amazing subplots being interwoven into the show. You have to understand that the biggest thing that's being addressed is when Mark finally finds out, you feel his pain. And I think that was something that was amazing, because for them to unveil the twist villain in the first episode, what made me excited was, oh my goodness, how is Mark going to react when he finds out? That's in the back of your head the entire show. And what makes it even better is that since it's only 8 episodes in the first season, they don't drag it. Every single episode you have to watch. It's amazing too, because it's like an anime. It feels like an anime because there's a comic book. There's a storyline. There's something you can read ahead and find out what happens next, by the way. To all those who didn't know that, you can read ahead like it's manga and find out what's next. So you can watch it like an anime, but it has the length of a short animated season with all the surprising tendencies and all the amazing tendencies of like a superhero film all wrapped into one. And the way that they decide to tell the story, instead of trying to do plot twists, and try to do the plot twist at the end, they do the plot twist at the beginning so that you care more about the relationships in between all the characters. So the tension that builds up when each episode, Damien Darkblood, the demon from hell, the detective who starts over the course of the season, he starts putting things together. He starts trying to figure it out. And Cecil begins to find out, oh my goodness, this has to have been Omni-Man. Even down to Mark and Debbie. Mark, it's amazing and this is one detail that I thought was so amazing. They made Mark the last one to find out that it was Omni-Man who did all these things on purpose. Robert Kirkman had it so that Mark found out at the end. They even had Amber figure out that Mark was invincible before Mark found out that his dad was the one who killed all the Guardians of the Globe. That's the part about it. That's amazing storytelling. Because you feel the buildup. Because it's like, once you get to the second to last episode, you go, oh my goodness, everybody knows that Omni-Man killed him, but Mark. And it's not until the final episode where Omni-Man, after beating up a mortal and he has bloodshot eyes, at the end of the second to last episode, he goes, Mark, we need to talk.
We need to talk.
And then it's just like, wait. Because at that point, Debbie already knows. And that's what makes this show so good. That's why I was telling George, I'm like, George, you need to watch this. I was hyping it up because I'm like, this is different. This is different. It has all the, and it's Robert Kirkman's writing, guys. Come on, we're talking about the same guy that did The Walking Dead. The same jumpy feelings you get watching The Walking Dead. Get with this.
Yes. When Nate revealed to me that this is Robert Kirkman is responsible for Walking Dead, I said, oh, the genius who changed the game. Because The Walking Dead, I think, along with Game of Thrones, changed the game and made you realize that, oh, don't fall in love with characters because they could die. And that's what happened with Walking Dead. It's like, but that's real. If we're dealing with zombies in a zombie apocalypse, why is all the characters you love get to live? No, not all the characters you love get to live, and not all the characters you hate get to die, like all the other zombie movies we've known. And that's exactly what he does in this show. Let's go down the list. Of course, we're going to touch the end, but let's go down the list of why this show was different. Not only, I think it's rated. Well, yeah, let's be honest. It's rated R. Just by, I don't even have to look it up or Google it. Whatever the rating is, it's adult. Just by the gruesomeness that you see in the first episode. Yes, the language, and of course there is sexuality, and that's what I want to talk about. These things are popular now, and I think that's what made the animated, like at first I thought this was going to be for kids kind of animated series, and then I said, oh wait, no, this is like the new DC animated. It's not for kids, because after the first episode I was like, nope, my son is not watching this, and then the reality of relationships that the show does, which is so interesting, because there's a superheroine by the name of Adam Eve, who Mark finds out is a superheroine that not only is a superheroine in like this Teen Titans type team in the show, she actually goes to school. So they become good friends. And in a typical superhero genre, he would fall in love with her, she would fall in love with him, and they would get together, right? Two superheroes, right? That's what would happen. But this is not what happens. It turns out this is not what happens. She actually is already taken by another guy. She's already dating him. But the dude cheats on her with a superheroine by the name of Replicate, right?
Duplicate.
Could have been Replicate. It's the same thing, but Duplicate. And he cheats on her in a very adult manner, because not only does he walk in on what's his name, Nate, that heroine that
I forgot his name.
Yeah,
he was a jerk. That's why I forget his name. I didn't like him.
Yeah,
but that was the whole point of his character. Like,
so all I know is he's cheating on her. She witnesses it, and
Rex.
Yes, Rex is cheating on her, and cheating on her for a specific reason, because Duplicate is able to duplicate herself. So I think you guys can pretty much understand what he was enjoying about Duplicate. So, which devastates Adam Eve, and it looks like she's gonna run to Mark to ask for his shoulder to cry on. But at that moment, Mark is actually with Amber, and they're together. And then she realizes, oh, he's with the girl that that he wants to be with. So I'll leave it alone. And then she flies off and she says, "Way to go, Mark." And that star crossing, I was like, that's reality, because that's how it is in real life. You know,
Yeah.
you don't have a meet cute all the time, and then both of us are single. And you know, Jada Pinkett Smith was not single when Will Smith found out that he was in love with her, right? She was, well, actually, no, Will was married. Will was married. And he found out he was in love with Jada Pinkett. That's how it is, and sometimes it's messy. So that's what I enjoyed about that. And then he starts dating Amber, who becomes a very interesting character because she figures out that Mark is invincible, and still breaks up with him. That's not what we see in superhero movies.
No, we don't.
We always see.
That's why everybody hates Amber, bro. I hate Amber, bro. Everybody hates Amber. There's a whole culture of Invincible fans who hate Amber's character. He's a jerk. Like,
I enjoy Amber, and this is why I like her character, because she figured out he's invincible. But if you pay attention and look,
I know where you're going with this. Oh,
Mark does not treat her
yeah,
like she's Lois Lane, right? He doesn't treat her on that level of respect, and it makes sense because one, he's a young kid. He's in high school, for Pete's sake. He doesn't have that maturity of relationship to understand that yet. And so he's him thinking that me keeping the secret away from her at this point is protecting her. And how can I trust her with the secret yet? That makes it makes perfect sense. But it gets to a point where she figures it out and she's getting upset that he's not telling her because it's getting too obvious, if you catch my drift. Right? Yeah. And when they go off to the recruiting to go to that college, that's the last straw for her. Because if he was paying attention, he would notice that she knew then. Because I was seeing that scene again. When the villain comes, she calls out to Mark several times. And you think it's because she's asking for him to save her as Mark. No, nope. She's calling out to him to save her as Invincible. But she's like, get to going. But what he does is he flies away and flies back to get in his suit and all that stuff. And she's upset about that because she's like, this level of hiding things from me, I don't need that. And that's another point that I like about this. Because what we see in our other movies is he reveals himself. I'm really invincible. Oh my goodness, it all makes sense now. Oh, I love you. That's what happened with Superman with Lois Lane. That happened with Mary Jane and Peter Parker.
Spider-Man
right?
2.
Right? And of course, even Selena Kyle and Bruce Wayne, which was the weirdest one. What was it? Hush? Batman reveals himself to Selena Kyle, and she goes, "Oh my gosh, it's been you all of." I would have been like, "No, no, we're not cool. We're not cool off the bat, okay? First of all, you've been trying to put me in prison for how many X amount of years, but then when you're Bruce Wayne, we're flirting, and that's what I like about Invincible. We get into the realness, okay? The real deal Holyfield. And then coming to the end, we find out that not only his wife figures it out, Omni-Man's wife, that he killed the Guardians of the Globe. The government does, led by this man by the name of Cecil. And there's a scene where Damian Darkblood reveals to Cecil, yeah, it was Omni-Man. And Cecil says, yeah, I know it was Omni-Man. It's pretty much obvious. The only one strong enough to kill all these things without them being ready is Omni-Man. He was in the building. but he's saying, oh, he was beat up, so it was some kind of no. What being is strong enough to beat up Omni-Man? No, it was only the Guardians of the Globe beating him
and where's
up.
the body?
Exactly. So, and then when he, what tipped Debbie off is the fact that he needed to have his suit. I need the suit back. Give it to me. It's my property, right? Like all these little hints. The only one that's oblivious is Mark, as Nate, you said. So Cecil figures it out, and he says, Damien, I have to banish you to hell because you're not playing the game right. You're trying to force us to have a war with Omni-Man. We can't start a war with him. I have to act like we're on his side. And boom, the reveal happens because Debbie can't stay with him anymore. So she runs off to Cecil. And then they're trying to reach Mark as quickly as possible. That's what makes this episode, the last episode, so good. Like they're trying to reach Mark, but they don't get to him in enough time because he's off having fun with Adam Eve. So by the time they reach him, Omni-Man caught up to him first. And the reveal happens because he kills again the Immortal. Is his name the Immortal?
Yeah, Immortal.
Yeah.
I don't know what the point of his name is. He just dies twice. I don't get it.
Yeah, they killed him. So he's brought back to life, and then they kill him. Omni-Man kills him again, and then they have this vicious battle that has been the talk of anyone who's watched this show. Anybody who's watched this show, it's become the talk. It's become TikTok, okay? It's a popular TikTok. It's a popular TikTok sound. It's everywhere. It's a popular meme. George hinted at it earlier this episode. Think, Mark, think. It's cemented in our mind as one of the most gruesome, most evil things we've ever seen, because the lack of empathy for human life I have not seen from any villain since the Joker. Like, if you gave Joker superpowers, this is what would be happening, okay? And even then, I think it would be less restrained because Joker wouldn't beat up Batman like this. He would just want him to go insane. He wouldn't be okay. He was beating up his son, his own very own flesh and blood, beating up his son all over the world. My favorite scene, because of how gruesome it is when you finally think that they're in an area that nobody's going to get hurt because they're over the ocean. Omni-Man finds a cruise ship to throw Mark Grayson into, and then pushes him down into the deeps of the ocean. And then when he throws him out of the ocean, he makes sure and well enough sure, okay, it was not a coincidence. He makes sure that he throws Mark through the cruise ship again. There's all this ocean, only one cruise ship. Mark gets thrown through it twice. So Omni-Man is not only beating up his son viciously, he's making sure, damn sure, okay, I even had to say the D word there, that he kills as many human beings as physically possible.
Yeah.
My goodness, what do you guys got to say about that?
I think immediately about the scene when after their first fighting, after they fight the tentacle thing, and they're first starting to fight, and then Mark saves the pilot.
Oh my gosh, you took it from me. You took my point. Dang it.
Mark saves the pilot, right? And every superhero film, right? Every superhero movie, right? The superhero grabs the pilot. He puts him down. He says, all right, make sure you get out of here, okay? And then they fly away. That's what I was hoping was happening, right?
And he's black.
If you watch the show and you know, by that point in the show, you go, oh my gosh, if Omni-Man comes down here. Right as I was thinking that, boom, Omni-Man goes right behind the pilot. He's all just like, you see, that's your problem. You care too much about these people. And proceeds to grab his head and pops it like a balloon. And Mark is like, blood's all over Mark. He's like, what the heck? And then Omni-Man's like, you care too much. So I'm glad that you brought that up because it goes to show Omni-Man has Black Air Force activity, Black Air Force energy. Omni-Man is taking Mark and using him as a baseball and throwing him everywhere. And that's the thing about the show that's also visual that that I love. It's telling you the story visually. Omni-Man it's like you said, Eric, Omni-Man is trying to make a point. So he is purposefully, that is why on purpose the battle goes into the city. Omni-Man makes sure that happens because he knows that's where he's going to cause the most collateral damage. So he's throwing Mark all over the place, buildings are toppling, and then I'm going to let George take it from here. We get to that scene in the city. The infamous scene that everybody knows about, George. Take it away.
Like, come on. Like, the train scene, I don't even have to describe it. He uses Mark, because he knows how powerful he is. He uses him as like a meat shield. The train comes in, collides body, and Mark goes straight through it. And all you see is human life splitting open, blood, organs, anything you can think of, going everywhere. And you're just like, and Mark's, and everyone at that moment is Mark. You're just not feeling his physical pain. You're just like, bruh. And the thing about it is, here's what you gotta think about. Omni-Man stood there for 20 years he was on Earth? 20 years, at least. He could have done this at any time. 20 years to us is a long time. Me and Nate, we've been alive for barely over 20 years. That's our whole life right there. This dude for 20 years sat back and acted like he was the number one hero just so he could wait for his son to reveal if he had powers. Just so he could come up with this plan to, for his son to join him on his quest to take over the universe, right? And I'm just like, dang. So imagine if I spent my entire life just waiting for this one moment, knowing that at any second I can destroy society on an epic scale. He has to act like he's the number one hero. He has to act like he loves the people, he's there to save them. But instead, he's a monster. He's a monster. And he spends this whole episode just kicking Mark all over the earth, destroying people, blood and guts everywhere, right? And then you get the baseball scene. Right? He's like, Mark, do you know how long we live? By the time you're like 100 years old, that's nothing to them. Everybody you care about, Amber, your kids, if you have kids one day, everyone you care about will be dead, long and gone. They'll be, in the earth, gone. There'll be nothing left.
Mark,
your life has just begun, right? And what, you want to waste your life with these insects? And that hurts me watching it because he's like, dang, I'm really an insect at the end of the day. I'm an atom, one day, God willing, I might die, and then, nature's going to go on. More people are going to populate the earth, right? Life and history is going to continue. And I'm going to be nothing. I'll just be a very, very, very small particle in the existence of time, right? And I'm turning into a religious conversation, all that. And it's just like, dang, this dude, Omni-Man, really, he's really I'm not going to, swear here, but he's really the A word. He really is like that. And I'm just like,
beating up his kid, too. Imagine your dad.
That's crazy. Just to prove a point, tough love. That's the way Omni-Man looks at it, as tough love. That ain't tough love. In our society, there's words to describe this. You can get tied and set to prison for life for these type of things. And Omni-Man's just like, nah. I'm just trying to teach you a lesson.
He committed emotional abuse and domestic abuse. But you know what? This is a sharp detail that I want everybody to pay attention to. Omni-Man never hit Debbie once. Did anybody notice that? Out of all the times Omni-Man committed violence in the show, Omni-Man never touched Debbie once. That's a detail that is so amazing. And I'm going to tie it right back to what you're saying. Because at the end, when Mark says the infamous line, when Omni-Man's doing the think, Mark, think, like, what are you going to have? He says, after thousands of years, what are you going to have left? Mark says, I'm still going to have you, Dad, to paraphrase. And you get the flashback of the baseball scene. And Omni-Man... Because, George, I love how you brought up imagine waiting 20 years. What people don't understand is that's pent-up frustration. In that moment, Omni-Man was angry out of his mind because he's waited this long for his son to be like, nah, no. He's like, no. What do you mean no? What the heck do you mean no? So Omni-Man's freaking out. So what you're seeing is, and this is what I love about the show, because people say Omni-Man is, and if you read the comics, you're going to find out how multi-layered he is. He is one of the most multi-layered villains I think I've ever seen in comic book media, because he still cares. And what's crazy is that idealistically, he says it, he goes on his speech, I loved your mom, but she was more like a pet to me. He says that, right? And Debbie's crying because she's like, yo, what? I just spent like 20 years of my life with this guy, only for him to call me his pet? Huh? Because Omni-Man and Debbie's relationship was so good up until Mark got his powers. You guys have to understand this plot, man. This plot is amazing. I'm telling you.
Watch Debbie.
Nolan and Debbie's relationship was beautiful. They were talking about where they would go on dates, how their life was growing up. Everything was fine until Mark got his powers. The moment Mark got his powers, Nolan started acting differently. Omni-Man started acting differently. It started to change. The whole dynamic started to change. That's why I said, notice how he never hit Debbie once. Because at that point, I honestly believe a lot of the things that he was saying in the moment were objectively true in terms of his mission, at least for him. But deep down, he still cared. And you know what's crazy? As soon as I thought that, the show answered that for me in the way he reacted when he shed a tear and just flew away after Mark said that. Because Nolan knew, he's like, dang, I came here for a mission. And that's the thing that people don't understand about Omni-Man. This is why I'm saying he's the best comic book villain we've seen. Because he's so multi-layered. And you see it play out. Because by the time you realize he's a villain, the tendencies of him being a father, he becomes a father first. He has Mark's life in his hands, but he can't kill him. Because he turns back into being a father. And he goes away. And if you guys, that's what I'm saying, bro. It's like an anime. There's manga. There's a comic. And I've read ahead. And I go, oh my goodness. I texted George. I said, Omni-Man has one of the greatest character arcs in comic book history. And if you read the comics, you're going to see. It's like the more that the show goes on, you're going to be like, oh my goodness. I can't spoil it. But I'm telling you guys right now,
yes, don't spoil it.
I love it.
But let me say this. When you get the reveal of what the Viltrumites really were, because earlier in the series, Omni-Man Nolan lies to his son saying, the Viltrumites are, more like Kryptonians for Earth with, Superman. Like we are superior beings that come to planets to help them, like Green Lantern kind of esque, where they're good people. So you after you've seen the first episode, he's lying. There's something a little different about Viltrumites, and then you find out the true story, which is the Viltrumites may have had some good people in there, but then let's be honest, a group like the Nazis grew in the Viltrumites, and Viltrumite basically, it's imagine if Hitler won World War II, and then you gave him superpowers, and then he just killed everyone who cared about anybody who wasn't strong and tried to stick up for anybody who wasn't stronger than them. Yeah, that's what happened to Viltrumite. All the people who didn't want to conquer the universe, they killed them. And basically, they all became megalomaniacs who are bent on rule and who look on every race as insects, right? If you ain't Viltrumite, you're a weakling. And if you ain't a strong Viltrumite, you're a weakling, right? So that's the ideology that Omni-Man has. And going to Nate's point, if you pay attention to the first episode, when he finds out Mark has powers in his teenage years, now he's upset. And then he goes kills the Guardians of the Globe. I believe he's upset because as it took Mark so long to get his powers, Omni-Man started believing that, he's never going to get his powers. So Omni-Man started to resign himself, and this is my theory. Omni-Man started to resign himself that because he started carrying in this undercover role, which usually always happens to undercover people, they always start associating, it's happened to cops who become mafiosos or drug dealers. They start, falling in love with the people they're supposed to put in jail, right? It's just a natural habit.
You made me think of Bad Boys for Life. That's the exact plot line that happened in Bad Boys for Life.
Yeah, it always happens. You start to care for the people you're not supposed to, and that's what happened to him. And I think in his mind, he resigned himself that, okay, Mark is never going to get powers. So I care about Debbie. I care about Mark. I'm going to wait my 60 years. And now that I know about Earth and now I've learned everything, Debbie taught me what I needed to know. And I had a son. I'm going to wait my 70 years, my 80 years. Mark's going to die because he's human and he has no powers. And then I'm going to wreck this place.
Yeah.
That's what he was thinking.
That's a crazy theory.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you, my theory is 90. I usually say it's not a hot take. This is 90% true. Look at that episode. When he's enjoying, he's talking to Debbie, he's loving, and then Mark comes home, says, I have powers. And then he's supposed to act all excited, right? Debbie's excited. Oh my gosh, yay, you have powers. And now Nolan's like, oh crap. So that changes my whole thing. Because at first, at the baseball game in the last episode, he's upset, right? His son doesn't have powers. And that means he's, the plan isn't working, so he's thinking, maybe I should just kill all of them now or all that stuff. And then he sees his son get a home run and he sees that his son is powerful, not super powered, but powerful. He becomes proud and it delayed his mission. And then he said to himself, hey, I'm having fun. 60 years, 70 years is nothing to me. I'm just going to relax, enjoy this time with a wife and a kid, have the memories, and then I'm going to wreck this place. Literally. But once Mark exhibits the powers, he says to himself, back on mission. And he's not happy about it. Because he actually cares that Debbie's gonna be heartbroken when it's revealed. Because why? Because why not just reveal everything right there? Right? Because he does kill the Guardians of the Globe. Why not just say, all right, Debbie, you were just a pet to me. Mark, Viltrumites are megalomaniac, narcissistic, survival of the fittest race that we conquer the universe. So either join me or I'm gonna kill you. Why doesn't he do that? Because that's really what the mission was. No, he bides his time. He lets people think that he didn't kill them, that he didn't kill the Guardians of the Globe, all these things, because he doesn't want to lose what he has. He's enjoying it, and he didn't want to lose it, but Mark gaining powers ruins the whole plan. So he has to go back. And that the other scene that you guys got to look back on that made me realize when he's training Mark. When he's training Mark.
Yep, there you go.
And then he gives him the super hard punch. That's borderline abuse. Okay. It was the abusive punch. And Mark goes, oh, Dad, Why? And then he goes, oh, you know, I was just, you know, son, you know, when you're a superhero, you gotta take punches that hard, you know. But really, he was seeing, can I kill this kid if I got to? And that's what happened. So yes, that's why deconstruction, guys. I think this is why I also wanted to say on this episode, deconstruction is so good because the superheroes have been here for a long time now. We love it. We've read comics. We consume that material, but it's been done over so many times. It's kind of predictable. And then when you get a deconstruction, it gets enjoyable again because you're like, here we go, something new. Which is why I wanted to talk. We're not going to really go into it, but Omni-Man, and then another villain on the other show, The Boys, Homelander. These villains are the most powerful beings on the planet. There's no checks and balances because if they want to do something, you're not stopping them. Omni-Man says, "I want something." You're not saying no. You're saying, how much do I have to give? Right? And same thing with Homelander. But which is really interesting, guys. Omni-Man and Homelander still have that kind of kryptonite weakness. They don't have a kryptonite weakness, as in you can't just put a metal in front of them and weaken them. But the opinion of people matter to them so much that it stops them from doing evil things. In The Boys season 2, Homelander is confronted by a crowd who start booing him. And he doesn't know how to talk his way out of it. And he gets so upset that he imagines in his mind that he uses his laser eyes or heat vision and kills like all of them. He just mows them down. But he doesn't. He stops himself and he flies off. Why? Because he doesn't want to lose the love of the people. It's interesting that Omni-Man flies off instead of finishing the mission. Why? Because he doesn't want to lose his son. Ha! Interesting. So they even when there is no kryptonite, you can still find the kryptonite. Very, very interesting.
Oh, name. That's the quote of today's episode.
I'm telling you, it's interesting that Homelander can do whatever he pleases, but he'll in the first season hit the vice president of Vought basically has Homelander because he has a crush on her. And everything she says, because he doesn't want to lose her love. He sees her as a mother figure, and he wants that in his life. And you can see the correlation with Omni-Man. Omni-Man, his motivation, think about it now, guys, in Invincible. Even he does kill the Guardians of the Globe, but Omni-Man is pretty much in check. As in, he's not killing anybody, he's not hurting anybody, he's just training his son. And he's doing some heroic things here and there. He is giving hints that he is a nasty dude who doesn't care about humans, but he doesn't do anything pretty evil until when Debbie confronts him and says, "I know you're a murderer. Explain it to me." That's when he's out of check now, right? That's when we're in trouble. So interesting. Thoughts on that, guys?
What's crazy is Debbie, and I was gonna say this when Nate was going, but when Debbie watches that entire battle between her son and his father, you gotta put yourself in Debbie's shoes. The two people that you love the most are going at it, where one or potentially both of them could end up dying because that's how powerful that is. And think about it is, Debbie's not over there, jumping at the screen trying to stop them. She's just looking at the authority, and she's like, "What are you gonna do about this?" It's not till the end, the actual end, where we actually get to see Debbie let all of her emotions go, because she still stays strong for her son. She's, and Mark's like, "Oh, you want to get pizza tonight?" Like, I need a couple minutes to myself. And then she finally goes in the bedroom. That's where she lets it all go. And she's like, that's where you're like, dang. And then, now with Omni-Man flying off and Mark continues to be invincible, right? Without spoiling anything in the comics, it makes you think, how can they continue? Because even though they wrap everything or most of the storylines up with a nice bow, right? The Guardians of the Globe are ready to actually be the Guardians of the Globe, right? Mark has, his friends and, his girl. The biggest thing is the threats of the Vigilites. And, will Omni-Man come back? And they're already telling you, oh, are we going to get Mark versus his dad part 2? This time can Invincible do more damage than he did the first battle? And it just makes you think like, dang. And it goes back to the original point I was making. It's kind of a simple story, but when you look back and you analyze it, they're just like, dang, they do things so much different from what we know from superhero movies and superhero pop culture that it makes it feel fresh and organic to the point where you actually really, really enjoy the series and the characters. And, it's just like whatever they do decide to do for season 2, if they continue adapting, because you never know with these series. You never know. But it makes me think about what if, and I'll ask you guys real quick, what if we were to get an Invincible live action? Because you got to think about it. You see how popular just the season 1 is. You see, they've already announced season 2 and season 3, right? And that's going to come in the next couple of years. The questions are already going to come in. What if they were to do a Invincible live action?
I do not need a movie, bro. That's like because I'll give you a perfect comparison. This is gonna be perfect. You want to know what's gonna happen? You give it to the wrong studio, we're gonna end up with another Dragon Ball Evolution, an animated show that does not need a live action remake. Invincible does not need a live action remake, or else we're gonna get a Dragon Ball Evolution. I'm sick of Invincible. I'm telling you, I'm not. I can't.
The only other better one than Dragon Ball Evolution, which is a disaster, a horrific disaster, is the Avatar movie.
And my gosh!
And they got us feeling.
I knew you were gonna say that.
The Last Airbender.
With they tied M. Night Shyamalan to it, and you thought, okay, they're gonna do this good, and it became horrendous. So, in other words, I agree with Nate. I don't need this to. First of all, I think them going the animated route is the way they needed to go, and we don't need to see it live action. In fact, even for my own sanity, I don't need to see real live the blood and guts that you see in the disassociation that comes when we watch cartoons. We need that for this, okay? Because seeing realistic, and that train scene, if they could do that realistically, and they could probably if they do it well,
probably CGI.
I would need real therapy, not just the comic book therapy that we do on this show. I think I would need to go see a psychiatrist for real and be like, I have PTSD because that's just a little too gruesome for me. So, we don't need to see it live action. I'm sure they might be tempted because they say, hey, look at how well the show did. And guys, anybody who's watched it enjoyed it. It's the talk of comic book talkers right now. That's the reason I started watching it. I started seeing a lot of YouTube videos pop up about this show, like, hey, this show's good. And then you also see the names associated with doing the voices. J.K. Simmons is awesome as Omni-Man. all these other famous voiceover actors and live action movie Jillian Jacobs, I believe, does Adam Eve. Who anybody who's a fan of Community will be like, oh, it's her. So yeah.
I say this is what they should do. Treat it like an anime. I think Invincible should go the anime route in the sense that I would go to theaters to watch an Invincible movie, like animated.
Ooh.
I would watch that. And I can think of one story arc where that would be perfect. But I'm not going to spoil because nobody reads the comics yet. People are just getting into the comics. But they should treat it like an anime. The anime format nowadays is working. You got a lot of people going out to see the Dragon Ball movies, My Hero movies, Demon Slayer movies. Like, it can work. And I'm sure if Invincible came out as a animated feature film, everybody's going to go see that. I'd go see it, especially if it was in 4D. Oh, I'm definitely going to go see that, right? So they should just treat it like an anime. You got your manga in front of you. Just treat it like an anime, you know? You know, one of the things that made Avatar so great, if there was an animated Avatar feature-length film, I would watch it. Like, that's the thing. That's the format. That's the way to go with a show like Invincible. Treat it like an anime so that way, since you got canon already, you can build up the story, you know, do that, and then make an animated feature film, put it in theaters. The community, we will all, like, Invincible fans will show up and show out to see that film. I know they will. So just do that. They don't got to do that's it. And then you got, boom, that's how you get your cash. You make the budget, do what they did with Dragon Ball. When the Broly movie came out, they stopped Super and they upped the living life out of the budget for the Broly movie. And the Broly movie was a success. Everybody saw the Broly movie. And the animation was top-notch, top quality. So you got a big company like Amazon backing up this show. You can give it even a bigger budget. You can give it a bigger budget. And now I can guarantee you now, with the popularity of the show, season 2 is going to get a bigger budget, man. It's going to get a bigger budget. They're going to get more star-studded people to play the voices of more of the characters that we're going to see throughout the show. So, like, I'm telling you, man, Amazon got something for them. Invincible is a hit. So put your money into Invincible.
That's right. It's a good medium. It's a good format. It's a good show. We enjoyed it. That's why we had to talk about it. We didn't really touch on The Boys, but hey, that's also a great show. Maybe when season 3 of The Boys come out, we'll probably talk about it. But yeah, it's good stuff. Deconstruction, I love it because it gets you on your toes. It makes you say, hey, that's what it would be like if it was really in real life. You know, sometimes we need to go away from the world of Boy Scouts and heroes that will always do the right thing because they do the right thing because the right thing is the right thing to do. You know, sometimes we need people who are selfish, who will use their power because they have power and you can't tell them no. They become murderers, rapists, killers, and tyrants. And that's what happens on our planet right now. So why not? If they had superpowers. So that's definitely the thing. So definitely, guys, we will find out. Usually I would do predictions, but I think I've read one comic. Nate has read many. George, I think you've done a few. So we kind of know what happens. So we don't have to go into predictions. Let's just tell everybody who's watching and listening, it gets really bad. But it's good. It gets rough. So put on your safety belt. When season 2 comes, you're going to need your safety belt. It's going to be a rough ride, but you're going to enjoy it. All right? So we're going to find out. Is Mark really, truly invincible? All right. Thank you for listening. Hit that subscribe button. We'll see you next time here on Comic Book Therapy. Bye.